Alright guys, we have 2 more speakers.
Alright.
Our illustrious panel continues with Starchild, representing
Yay, Starchild.
the Libertarian Party. Interesting, woo!
Starchild.
Alright. Thanks so much everybody for coming out for this. I'm going to probably keep this on the short side because I've got a cold and I'm not feeling at my peak right now, but you know, it's important to be out here. Sometimes it may seem insignificant what we're doing, you know, but I'm sure a lot of you have heard the famous quote from Margaret Mead, you know, never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Another quote that I'd like to leave you with is one I've been using a lot recently. Is another woman named Alice Walker. And she said that the most common way that people give up power is by assuming that they don't have any. We have power. The people always have power. And the system to continue depends upon our obedience and our consent. Now we're not rocking the boat. You know, because there's way more of us than there are of them. And if everyone starts thinking like an activist, you know, and we all have different skills and different abilities. You know, some of us are good speakers, some of us are good writers, some of us know lots of people. You know, if you have a bunch of friends on Facebook or Twitter or in your social network, you know, you can help get these ideas out to people, especially if they're people that aren't usually interested in politics. You know, try to read up on enough on this stuff and learn enough about this so you can be effective at spreading the truth to the apathetic masses. Help them to understand how much lower their standard of living is, you know, because of the Federal Reserve. How the money that they have in their pocket buys less and less when they go to the store because of the Federal Reserve and its control of the money supply. You know, how people around the world are suffering because of this institution, because the United States dollar is the world's reserve currency. And that means when they create all this money backed by nothing, they're effectively exporting inflation to the rest of the world. And I think that's one reason why we have not had yet the financial collapse that is surely coming in this country if things don't change radically. You look at countries like Iceland and Cyprus that was mentioned earlier, and Greece and Ireland, you know, they've all had debt crises that severely disrupted the economy in those places, threw many people out of work, caused a lot of suffering, worse than has happened in this country yet. But those were just the beginnings of what's coming, because, you know, the international bankers basically, when these things pop up, you know, they shuffle the money around. It's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. You know, Greece gets into trouble because their government spends more money than they're taking in, you know, and so the rest of the Eurozone has to bail them out, or Cyprus gets into trouble, you know, and Russia, you know, with its newfound oil wealth has to come in and give them money, and, you know, but the United States, you know, this whole too big to fail thing is a double-edged sword, because the fact that it's too big to fail, I mean, there's going to be nobody there to bail out the dollar when the dollar collapses. And they can only shuffle the chairs around so long until the inflation catches up, because when you put more and more money into the world and fewer goods are being chased by more and more currency, you know, whether that currency is in physical form, like the dollars you can actually see in your wallet, or like the vast majority of it is simply in electronic form, you know, in people's bank account numbers, you know, at these banks and at the Federal Reserve and the IMF and all these other organizations that are colluding to rip people off. You know, and a lot of people think it's the fault of the corporations, and there's some truth to that, but the governments are like super corporations. Not only are they trying to make money at our expense, you know, like other corporations are by selling us things, but governments are trying to run our lives. They think they have a mandate to control us because they're elected, they're democratic, they're run by the people. Some people say, oh, they are the people. They try to make us think that we're them, and so whatever they're doing is okay because we're really doing it to ourselves. Nonsense. They're doing it to us, and they're representing the wealthy interests. And when you raise a tax on a corporation, the tax is like 30% now, corporate income tax, I believe, in this country. Well, the corporation, they're just going to pass that cost along to consumers in the form of higher prices, or they're going to hire fewer employees, or they're going to pay the employees less. Their CEOs and their executives are still making the good money, and the people in the top levels of government are still making the good money. And it's like a revolving door there between the two, so neither one of them have a problem with the other.
Hey, mouth to the speaker closer so it really echoes out.
Try not to speak right under the thing so the people following me doesn't get a cold here. Anyway, I'll wrap this up. Again, I encourage you, please, when you go home, think about this and think what you can do to spread this message beyond the core of people that know and care about this stuff, because it's not an easy thing to do. It's a complicated subject, and it's not, traditionally a sexy, quote-unquote, subject. And so it's easy for people to ignore it and not pay attention to it. But the fact is that it's hugely important who controls the money. And as long as any government has a monopoly on the money, and we do not have the choice of which currency to use, they are going to be exploiting us financially. And they'll have all kinds of hidden ways of doing it, from bailouts to inflation to, secret loans and all the rest of this. So please, go out and think like an activist, and remember that the power that you have can change the world. Thank you.